What an amazing set of election results. The worst set of local elections in Labour Party history. The worst result in Wales they've ever had. Absolutely devastating stuff. Wasn't quite as bad as we predicted. We thought they'd lose about 2,000 council seats. As it turns out, I think they've lost about 1,400. There's still 5 councils to declare. And when you consider that 2 of these councils are Bradford and Tower Hamlets, that's a little bit worrying. I believe they're counting today on a Saturday, but they've had those votes for 48 hours now. And obviously, when you're talking about Tower Hamlets, one of the most corrupt local authority areas in the country, for reasons I'm sure you're aware of, that's quite worrying. But, well, we'll see what happens. But as it stands, the overwhelming majority of councils have declared. Counting's finished in Scotland and Wales. All the mayoral contests are complete. And, yeah, it's been absolute devastation for Labour. They've lost 35 councils so far. But it's the locations and the constitution of these councils that is the important thing. We're talking about proper hardcore red wall areas like the North East and Yorkshire. You know, we're talking about Sunderland, Gateshead, Barnsley, Wakefield. Those 4 local authorities, they haven't shifted into no overall control. Like most of those 35 councils are now in no overall control. Labour have lost a majority. But those 4 councils were all seized by Reform UK. And again, all 4 of those councils have been held by Labour since 1974, when those councils were established. So for the entire history of those local authorities, they have known nothing but Labour control. 52 years of it, swept aside in a day by Reform UK. Sandwell Council in the Black Country, again another working class sort of area, been Labour since 1979. Reform UK now. Reform UK even won a council off Labour in London. I mean, we wouldn't have predicted that in a million years. Absolutely unforeseen stuff. So it's been absolute devastation for Labour in England. Who else gained from Labour? I think there were 3 councils that went green, 2 of which were in London. The Tories gained Westminster City Council, but that was really the only thing they had to cheer about, because they've had another devastating set of election results again, which is understandable, as we are witnessing right now the collapse of the 2-party protection racket that's governed this country for over 100 years. And they both deserve to suffer for everything that they've done. You know, we walk around our towns and cities now, they are unrecognisable in our lifetimes. You know, they've merged over the last couple of decades into one party. Net zero, mass immigration, nothing between them. Under the Conservatives, the biggest wave of immigration this country's ever seen. Worse than anything Tony Blair inflicted on us. They need to take responsibility for that. And obviously, things haven't got much better with Labour, and they won't get any better with Labour. And people now realise that. The seeds for this shift date back longer than the general election. But that 2024 general election was an amazing set of results. We had, for the first time, small parties winning seats. We had the Greens winning seats outside of Brighton. We had Reform UK winning seats. We had Muslim independents taking seats off Labour in places like Birmingham and Leicester. And that shift carried on. It didn't stop. With Labour government coming in, people soon realised, actually, do you know what? They are no different to what we've had for the last 14 years. So we need something else. And that's what we've seen. 2 parliamentary elections so far in this parliament. Runcorn, won by Reform. Gorton and Denton, won by the Greens. Those were both Labour seats, no more. We saw the May local elections last year, the Reform surge. They were winning county councils up and down the country. And then we've seen since then council by-elections every Thursday, won by Reform. The Greens now starting to eat into the Labour vote, coming and attacking Labour from the left, while Reform come from the right. And then obviously these elections, what we've just had, again, smaller parties or parties that aren't established for over 100 years, winning seats all over the place. Birmingham City Council, so my hometown, absolutely, again, an absolutely amazing set of results. Labour went into that election in control of Birmingham with 65 seats. There's still a couple of seats to declare, but they will end on roughly 18. 18 seats. That's what they're going to finish with. From 65. There's going to be no overall control. And there's a 6-way split, and it's fairly even. Reform are going to be the biggest party with 22. And then you've got the Greens in second. Labour have slumped into third place, just ahead of the Conservatives. And then you've got Muslim independents in the inner city areas. There's no combination of parties that can control Birmingham with a majority. So it would have to be run by a minority administration. But it just goes to show that people have had it with Labour and the Conservatives. We also need to talk about the devolved nations. These were very important elections. They were electing governments in Cardiff and Edinburgh. In Scotland, we should be thankful that the SNP didn't get an outright majority. They fell 7 seats short. They can argue that they've got a mandate for another punt at a referendum. With the Scottish Greens also backing independence, the Scottish Greens are a separate entity from the England and Wales party that's led by Polanski. Different outfit, together with their lefty mates in the SNP. They can argue we shouldn't let these parties forget that Salmon and Sturgeon told us it was a once-in-a-generation vote. You can't keep having these votes every 10 years when you're telling us that it was a once-in-a-generation thing. So that remains to be seen. But SNP support, in any case, was down at this election. It was down across the board. They lost seats, they lost votes, and they lost a share of the vote. Everything is on a downward trajectory. So it wasn't a glowing appraisal of the SNP. Reform UK did very well in Scotland. Not quite as well as we anticipated. We thought they would finish second and push Labour into third. As it happened, Reform and Labour finished joint second on 17 seats. Part of the failure for Reform to move into the opposition as the opposition party in Holyrood was the fact they didn't win constituency seats, whereas Labour did. All of Reform seats came off the regional lists, the way Scottish and Welsh elections work now. So still a cracking result for Reform to come joint second in Scotland. But the biggest success for Reform with regards to devolved nations was undoubtedly to emerge as the second biggest party in Wales. There'll be no constitutional wrangling in Wales with regards to independence referendums. Obviously, Plaid will govern in some kind of agreement with either Labour or the Greens, or Labour and the Greens, because again, Plaid Cymru fell short of a majority. Reform finished far and away in front of Labour. Labour tried to fix these elections. They reduced the voting age to 16. They added 36 seats into the Senate. Another 36 parasites, if you like, feeding off taxpayers' money to make nanny state decisions to control people's lives, which is what's going to continue to happen, because Plaid Cymru are Labour with a different coloured rosette. Nothing will change. There'll be no referendum. It wasn't even in their manifesto. It puts voters off. They know it. They don't want to talk about it. The support for independence in Wales is nothing like it is in Scotland. People aren't interested in it. So they left that off their manifesto and their leaflets. But they have still emerged as the biggest party, ahead of Reform. But the big story is Labour. The Welsh Assembly, as it was known then, established in 1999, has been controlled by Labour for the whole of that 27 years. No more. They're gone. They went from controlling Wales and you'll have to excuse me. I'm absolutely dying. They went from government for 27 years to bumping up the number of seats, lowering the voting age, and they've come out of these elections with 9 seats out of 96. 9 seats. One of the people that lost their seat was the First Minister herself, Eluned Morgan, gone, resigned. And it's really desperate stuff for Labour across the board. So what happens now with that plank in number 10? Well, he's gonna. We said one of two things would happen. He'd resign on the Friday once the full election disaster unfurled, but he made clear quite early on that he wasn't walking away, even though he took responsibility. You know, we posted a video of one of his speeches from 2020 when he was slating Jeremy Corbyn for the 2019 general election, saying that, you know, we should, if you lose an election, it's because of the things you've done and you need to look at yourself and take responsibility. Jeremy Corbyn resigned following that election. But obviously Starmer isn't going to apply that to himself now. So the secondary scenario is going to come into play. He's going to be forced out. He's going to be forced out by his MPs. There's obviously no end of vultures circling above number 10 for that opportunity to challenge Starmer. There's all sorts of names in the mix. You know, Miliband, Street in Rayner. Andy Burnham has, in the last couple of days, surged ahead of Street in and Rayner as the bookies' favourite, even though he's not an MP currently. But his supporters say that he has a plan to get back into the Commons very quickly. Of course, he needs an MP to stand aside in a safe seat. There aren't many safe seats left for Labour, so he needs somewhere really quite safe that he can win to get back in. There's going to be resignations at some point, I would imagine. Rayner is a backbencher now. She doesn't have the influence that she did from obviously inside the cabinet. Streeting is still Health Secretary inside the cabinet, so he may get the ball rolling if he's got enough support, get those resignations started in the next few days, and it may be a sort of Boris Johnson cascade effect where, you know, one person resigns, then another person resigns, and then we get the ball keeps rolling, and the momentum is enough to push Starmer out or force a leadership election. It's going to happen. It's going to happen because those MPs, they all know that they're going to lose their seats at the next election. And if we know anything about MPs, it's that they love their little lucrative spots on the gravy train, all those expenses, the salary, the second homes. They don't want to give those seats up. And the overwhelming majority of Labour MPs are gone at the next election. I don't care if Burnham's in charge or Streeton's in charge, it's going to happen. They see the problem as Starmer, and Starmer needs to go. Starmer is an asset. He's Reform UK's biggest asset because he is destroying the Labour Party. And really, we don't want him to go because he's absolutely destroying the Labour Party. They may have a little bit of a bounce with Burnham or whoever it is, but they're not going to win the next general election. The damage has already been done, and lots of those MPs are going to go, and that's why they're going to turn on Starmer. They're going to turn on Starmer and get him gone. It's all very interesting. Amazing set of election results. I'm shattered. I've hardly slept for the last 3 days. I'm not very well. Cole's been putting loads of stuff out, memes, for the last 2 weeks, trying to get all our Starmer material out before he goes. So if you appreciate what we do, please buy us a coffee, pint, whatever it is on the website. It helps, keeps the momentum, keeps things paid for, keeps morale up. So thanks for your support. I'll see you in the next video.